Hello, Alex, and hello, everyone watching this, and welcome to this wonderful new platform where I am very honoured to be interviewing incredible people. Now, not just from the same industries, from different industries, and even from around the world. And today I'm joined by no other than the wonderful Alex Kington from the world of travel. Now, Alex has got over 14 years experience in senior marketing and communication roles and has worked for some of the world's biggest businesses, including the likes of Tesco and PwC. And now Alex is in charge of global strategy and brand positioning for the specialist business travel operator TAG. So hello, Alex. Wow, wow, wow. Lovely to have you here today. And let's kickstart. Tell us, how are you? How are you feeling?
Hi. Well, thank you very much for having me, firstly. How am I feeling? Well, we're on day 2,075 of lockdown. Today's a good day. So yeah, we've just had a nice bank holiday, had a good weekend. So yeah, I'm feeling good today.
Brilliant. And I think we all feel that March and April lasted 10 years, didn't it? And then suddenly May blink and it's like, oh, Christmas, right, what we're doing now.
Some things happen with the space-time continuum during lockdown. It's all kind of blurring and speeding up and slowing down, but yeah, we're getting there.
We are, and I love all of the wonderful things that I do see that you're sharing on LinkedIn and various platforms. And I have to say, let's cut to the chase, Alex. What's been your guilty pleasure during lockdown, this wonderful period of time?
Well, I think the trouble is with lockdown, you've all fall into that mentality of it's tough, which it is, so I'll treat myself. So I think chocolate and sweets have played a massive role, but the one thing that I've found, which I've discovered in lockdown, is custard creams with chocolate spread.
That sounds like a great combination. I think how many people now are going to be rushing off for custard creams and chocolate?
It is a great combination, but it also has to be eaten with your back to the children, with your face hidden behind a cupboard. So that's the guilty element of it, just stuffing chocolate biscuits in your face, because they're only allowed fruit. So, it's one rule for one rule for them.
Like, this is mum's fruit. Yeah.
That's the way we're working it, definitely.
Oh, smashing. Well, I'll certainly be dashing out to get some custard creams and chocolate spread, and I'll hide them from my husband because he's like a vacuum. He'll just inhale them, and I'll get to look at them. So yeah.
Good plan.
So with this period of time that we've been experiencing with lockdown, how have you, Alex, found it? But ultimately as well, what have you started doing during lockdown that you didn't used to do before all of this happened?
Yeah, I mean, there's been lots of changes in our lives. So I've got two small children. I've got an 18-month-old and a 5-year-old. So that's kind of challenging, juggling work. My husband's still working, I'm still working, juggling the work with childcare. But actually, aside from some of the challenges of that, it's been really nice kind of having that time with them. And I think one of the things that we've started doing in lockdown that we hadn't had the opportunity to do before was to sit down and eat as a family every night.
That's nice.
So we're managing to do that. We've had to slowly flex their routine a little bit later and bring ours a little bit forward, but we've kind of met in the middle somewhere, and it's lovely to just all sit down every night and have tea together and talk together, which we didn't used to do, with one of us being off traveling or late nights at work. So I think that's probably, of everything that's kind of changed, that's one thing that we've introduced that I'd really like to fight to keep in some sense, because it's been a really, really lovely kind of bonding family time.
Oh, that's really nice. And I think that, there is an awful lot of that happening, isn't there? That beautiful family spirit, community spirit, and getting to experience new things that normally wouldn't have happened. And that's lovely. And, I also know you're a fellow Yorkshire woman. Now, I know that you live in South Manchester and you are an honorary Mancunian for the last 15 years. But
I think I'm an honorary Mancunian. I don't know if the Manx would accept that, but I believe I am.
They would, yes. It's like, come on, she's one of us. But that's how nice to have this interview with you. Yorkshire woman myself, so two
Yeah.
Yorkshire women, just amazing, and having that really strong family connection. It is lovely. I know that happens across all cultures and all communities, but Yorkshire is a beautiful part of the world. And where was it that you grew up then?
So just outside of Leeds, so Dewsbury, which is like a small town, yeah, just
Yeah.
outside of Leeds, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's we moved over to Manchester, like I said, we've been here about 15 years now, so it's not too far, just over the Pennines, so pop back and see my mum.
That's it, it's not too far. If you stand on a big enough hill, you can see it all, can't you?
You can. My little girl knows all about it. When we're on the M62, there's a little kind of plinth, as it were, that's got the white rose on it. So as we're driving along, she'll see it and she's like, "Mummy, we're in Yorkshire."
Yeah. And have you got to say it with a big Yorkshire accent as well? "Mummy, we're in Yorkshire."
She does. My husband's southern. So both of them, there are certain things that they'll say that sound very West Country. He's from Gloucestershire. And then there's certain things that come out with, which, yeah, are just Yorkshire through and through, which, you know, I'm proud of. I've imparted something.
Absolutely. And during this time, I mean, back into, you know, the world in which you just do some phenomenal work, and you really do, and it's great knowing you in the world of tag. What have you found during this time, in terms of adapting, and what's the business found? You know, how are you leading with changes at the moment?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, tag travel, it's just been hit really, really hard, as you know, a lot of industries have. So there's had to be levels of adapting. However, certain things, you know, such as travel restrictions, no adapting is ever going to change any of those. But where we can adapt, we've had to adapt. So as a business, we're now, obviously, as everybody is, we're all home working, which was something that we'd never done previously. And that again has gone, as I think most people's experiences have been, has gone surprisingly well. You know, everyone's kind of adapted to that. There's loads more of the team meetings, Zoom meetings, you know, calls and things. But I think for the wider industry, there's been lots of things that have had to change. And within TAG, we've got kind of 5 main divisions. So we've got our music touring, supporting artists and celebrities across the world, putting on tours and events. We then have corporate events, so a specialist events division. Our corporate travel, private travel, and film and media. So obviously a lot of the travel has obviously been stopped, but one of the things that our team has managed to do in the events arena is to take some of these events online. Brilliant. So we actually delivered our first virtual online event the other week, which, you know, we've always been physical, so it's completely brand new to the team. But some of the innovations within there, you know, as you will know from your line of work, all the handouts and things like that, it's no longer possible. So they developed e-gift cards. So they can send out to all the delegates on the day. They all got a little e-gift card and things like that. Yeah, and working with webinars and all that kind of stuff, just to make it so as we're not cancelling the events, we're postponing them, or we're turning them on their head and pivoting. And that's the word that we're hearing a lot within the business, of how can we pivot. So I mean, that has been a massive innovation that we have kind of undertaken, and to completely pivot from the physical events into the virtual events. We've also seen that within music. You know, again, the concerts, the festivals, all these things that we were supporting, it's no longer an ability to do that. But what we're seeing is there's been a lot of virtual and online concerts, so we've been supporting as much as we can, you know, promoting those artists, making sure that people know that these things are going on globally. You know, TAG is a global business, so we're supporting and cross-promoting the Australian events to our US market, the US events to the UK market, and just trying to help these acts and bands to continue to get their music out there. So yeah, there's been some really interesting things. I think for the industry as a whole, we're seeing a lot of innovation. We've started seeing some drive-through gigs.
Yeah.
So that has been a completely, different experience of having, your big stage and your rigging, and then cars all parked there, sat in listening.
Yeah.
But again, it's that needs must. How can you still experience live music, keep that economy going?
Yeah.
So we're now looking at what would the involvement of for us be in events such as that. And then in the corporate space, we're seeing lots of innovations through airlines and through hotels, as they are kind of forced really to innovate to ensure safety for their customers, and to try and instill that confidence as and when people can travel again. And so the airlines, lots around the cleanliness of the airlines, lots around screening the airports. So Heathrow, for example, have been testing out the body temperature checkers.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So before people actually are entering the airport, and certainly before the boarding planes, are they showing any symptoms that can be tracked? Obviously certain people can be asymptomatic, what's going on there. Certain airlines are actually doing COVID checks, and either taking swabs and trying to check for COVID before you're allowed to board the flights. And within hotels, we're finding that technology, there was already kind of coming in there, this adoption of technology for things like self-check-in, using your phone as your key card, all those kind of things were creeping in. But we've seen a massive acceleration of adoption of that technology as people have realized that they need to try and do things to put social distancing measures in place, to reduce contact on surfaces. So lots of the suppliers that we're working with have introduced schemes like this, where they've now got apps, self-check-in, all these kind of things to minimize that, as well as lots more innovation around their cleanliness, right down to what detergents they're using, working with people like the World Health Organization, disease and control specialists, to ensure that when people are allowed to go back in, when those doors are open again, everyone can have the absolute highest level of confidence that they are traveling safely and securely, and that the hotels and airports and airlines and everyone in that travel ecosystem is doing everything that they can to protect those consumers. So there's so much going on, and so much innovation that has kind of been thrust upon these industries that they would have probably got there at some stage, but it's just that acceleration that we're seeing, which has been phenomenal, a really kind of phenomenal response to it.
That's Alex, that's absolutely fantastic, and wow. And it's really inspiring to hear how TAG have taken hold of this situation and decided to advance all the ways in which they can to still ensure people, their clients, the audience, anybody who is in receipt of those services are accessing it, albeit digitally, and understandably so. Right now, that digital importance and emphasis is there, isn't it, on how we can access the events, and especially the music ones. It makes me think of Greece, when they were in the cars and driving up and watching the film, and how amazing. And there's all that, and so there's a bit of nostalgia in that respect, isn't there?
I mean, it's really interesting that technology has massively heightened certain things like the delivery, but we're finding that, and this is kind of within travel as a whole, this return to human contact. And it's something that TAG has always done. We're not an online business. We never have been. We've never pushed our clients to book online. We've always valued that human interaction, but we're seeing that more and more and more, and especially within the wider business travel industry, people are lacking confidence right now. A lot of things are changing right now, hour by hour. Quarantines are changing, restrictions are changing, and people are really placing a high value on that personal interaction. So our consultants, who were already acting, with advising and acting as experts, they're being called upon even more so now of, what vaccines do I need? Do I need to wear a mask? How much can that, what can I board taking with me in terms of, items taken on board? all these kind of things. Where is the quarantine? Where is there not quarantine? Which airports are open? Which ones aren't open? There's so much going on there. And we're really finding that, you know, we had our niche delivering that high touch service anyway, but that high touch has increased even further. And people who previously were very confident, knowledgeable travellers and required not a lot of hand-holding, suddenly, because the world has changed, are needing so much more from us. So there's this real kind of, you know, technology has soared over here, but then human value and human interaction has soared over here. So we're working in the middle of all that and marrying the two together to ultimately deliver that client the confidence and the information that we can provide with the safety that technology can provide. So it's been a really interesting mix. I'll be really interested to see how that continues, and potentially in other industries where that human connection, the value of that comes back a bit more, and when we all get fed up with Zooms and Skyping and texting and all the rest of it.
That's it, and it's having the option, isn't it, to lean into whichever you need, to whichever channel you need at that time in order for you to achieve your overall outcome, which might be over here, and getting from point A to point B, and which route at this point, subject to restrictions and various rules and regulations, but also people voting with their health as well, and you'll get some, I imagine, who will always take a certain route to achieving their, you know, getting from A to B with yourselves. And what's incredible is that you offer that human element, and that is it. It's knowing that you're dealing with another person who understands the situation, and it's not, you know, faceless, and people do want that assurance. They want to know that they're in you know, good hands and safe hands when there's something that they need to do, whether it's personal or business. There's lots of elements that come into that, and I imagine as well, like culturally and cross the globe, as it were, you've got to consider lots of those layers. It's not just what's happening in the UK and making sure you've got that. There's that extra demand, isn't there, on you to think about, well, oh, hang on a minute, there's just a new update from Italy, or there's another update from America, and all of that's going to all intertwine with how you continue to relay that information. And as you mentioned, Alex, it's changing by the hour. So, you know, hats off to you, you know, to be taking all of that extra effort on to help people understand and show them that you're supporting and that you're standing side by side with them at this time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, our travel consultants, like I say, hats off to them, because the amount of knowledge that they knew before and now they need to know, it is just phenomenal. You know, we're looking internally to our business to see how we can ensure that training and upskilling is there, so they've got all that information. How do we structure and everything to ensure that, you know, after you've booked your flight, you've got somebody that you can go to as an expert. But even, as you say, from a communications perspective, you know, it kind of falls under my remit. Everyone throughout the world is at different stages, you know, culturally. We've got offices in Australia. They've simply not been as hard hit as the UK. You know, the Australian government has done some brilliant things in terms of furlough. So, you know, they're in a very different situation. In the States, again, very different approaches being taken in the States. And we've got people throughout the States. You know, we've got an office in New York, and we've got offices in Nashville, Atlanta, LA. All of the different states are taking different approaches. And then from our clients, again, they're in different places around the world. So we're definitely not in a one message fits all situation. And even if we were just marketing just for the UK, it still isn't a one message fits all situation, because everybody is in such a different place with this. I saw a really great quote a few weeks back. There'd been this whole thing of, you know, we're in this together, we're all in the same boat. And this quote was saying, well, we're not. We're not in the same boat. We're all in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat. And I just thought that was a really great way of putting it. You know, the storm is the same, but my boat is completely different to somebody else's boat. You know, and we're very, very mindful here of that situation. You know, there are people chomping at the bit to travel, and we will do everything to ensure that they can when the time is right and they do it safely. There are other people that might have travelled a lot that are suddenly quite reticent. And again, we will do everything that we can to help them, and you know, all the different restrictions, etc. But it's about the individual. Where is that individual on their journey, and how can we talk to them and ensure that none of the messaging is offensive to anybody, and that we're accepting of everybody's completely different headspace. You know, it is a crisis, and people will have lost loved ones. You know, that there's a lot of seriousness behind this. Lots of people might be struggling with their mental health and very lonely, all these different issues. So us kind of coming out and going, 50% off, way. You've got to be really mindful, and I think we've struck that really well. We've been mindful, and we're constantly thinking about the individual and what position they're in and how can we best serve them, which, you know, at the end of the day, you can only do with that knowledge and that personal touch, which is what we do.
And it just comes through constantly in everything that you're saying, Alex. You've put people at the heart of all your decision making, and you can tell that you've become the gatekeepers of the people for their safety and advice and knowledge when it comes to understanding how they can access all the different criteria that fall under the travel, the events, the music, the film, media. You're there being that gatekeeper, saying, okay, here's the latest, but here's you, we're protecting you. And I think that's wonderful, and that advice and support is just shining through and through. And you know, and on that, where would you say, for you personally, if you from the heart of Alex, if you were to say to anybody and give some advice, what is your piece of advice personally at this time that you would suggest to anyone, be it a mum of 2 lovely children, and or, you know, from a business point of view, but what is it that really sort of comes through right now from you?
I've been reading a lot and thinking a lot, and, you know, trying to get through it. And I think the best thing that I have read, and the best thing that I can kind of see, is just to do the best that you can do. That is all you can do, is your best. And your best during lockdown might not be the best that you are used to, but that's the best that you can do right now, and that is good enough. And whatever it is, and sometimes your best might not leave you feeling that achievement and that pride, but that's all that you could do right now, and that is fine. And it's that acceptance that you try to do the best that you can do, and as long as you're trying to do the best, accept that this is all you can do right now. And I think that has been, it's what I'm really trying to do. You know, there'll be days when the kids are wonderful and we have a great day, and I pat myself on the back for being, you know, super working mum, it's all gone great. And then there'll be other days when it all goes wrong. But even that is not the day, it'll have been 10 minutes. So it's to refine that and go, actually, not everything did go wrong. They were all fed. They were more or less dressed, even if dressed means that they wore a swimsuit all day, or, you know, whatever they chose to wear that day. And accepting that everyone stayed alive, everybody was healthy, everybody was safe. And that was the best that I could do that day, and accepting that. I think that's probably my best piece of advice. Just accept where you're at, that you're doing the best you can do.
Oh, Alex, that's genuinely really lovely, and I think so many people will take a lot from that, because you've been honest, and you sound like super mom, real super mom, like, because you've just said how it is, and, you know, not trying to dress it up with all bells and whistles. You've just told the real honest version to everybody, and I think so many parents listening to this will just say, thank you, Alex. That's incredible.
I hope so, because it is tough. It is tough. But yeah, pick your battles. You know, my eldest went out the other day, and yeah, she looked unique. But there was no arguing. She had trousers on that were too short. She had socks pulled up to nearly meet the trousers. She had funny shoes on, but she was happy. And I'm not going to argue with that. And that was the best that I could do at that point.
Yeah.
Accept it.
Exactly. And if all else fails, you just got to get a custard cream and some chocolate spread.
You do. That's what's needed.
Yeah,
Behind the cupboard.
Well, Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure. I have really enjoyed this interview with you, and thank you so much for coming onto a Zoom call and spending this time to share all of that lovely insight and information. It really does mean a lot, and I think that it will mean a lot to anybody listening to this as well. So thank you, and I hope
Thank you for having me.
have a wonderful rest of your day and have a lovely week. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, Emily. Thank you.
You are very welcome. Take care, stay safe, and lots of love to all the family.
Thanks. Bye.